Hey, everybody, if you hear things like, God damn it, or I'm going to kill you, and stuff like that, she's just playing Galaga on her phone. Things like that have been said right prior to this stream. It's nothing new in this house. It happens. So we'll wait till a couple people get in here, and then I guess start talking. Well, there's one. I did say a couple though, so today I think that my conspiracy theory is not fully formed yet in my head, but um, the Iowa caucus results, as I'm looking on just googling it and watching how Google refreshes it, they are still not quite yet at 100% in. And I've been looking at the trickle with each little step from when it was in the 60s to 72% to, and every time they add a little bit of this trickle, it seems like Bernie's numbers inch closer and closer to Buttigieg's numbers. And it looks to me like they could have been withholding the precincts that favored Bernie for as long as they could so that Buttigieg could go around and say, I was the winner for like 3 days, to give him a head start in the New Hampshire primary. And it was unfair, you know. The way that the results kept on trickling more towards like a dead heat between them, and the fact that Bernie had like 6,000 more votes than Buttigieg in the first round of the caucus, which, in Colorado now, we don't have a caucus for presidential candidates. We did have a preference poll, which is the equivalent of that first round in Iowa. And then we had, you had to wait until all the people who were just there for the preference poll left. And then you had to actually become a delegate and pledge your support to the candidate that you wanted to vote for. And then you had to actually go to the assemblies. And then it went all the way to the state assembly. That's what we used to have for the last handful of presidential cycles. It went to primary uh, prior to that for a couple of the cycles, and then it was caucus in Colorado history, all like for a long time before that. But they're flip flopping right now as to whether they like the caucus system or the primary system. So now what we have is in Colorado on May 3rd, Super Tuesday, sorry, March 3rd, Super Tuesday, we're going to vote in the primary for the presidential nominees from each party. And then we're going to, a couple days later, have our caucuses, which have nothing to do with the presidency whatsoever. And they are only for state positions. And yeah, it's weird. It's going to be basically if you really, really, really want to get involved in politics, you could keep caucusing and be a delegate just for the local things. But for the national things, they want it to be straight up a popularity contest with no added, you know, measures of how much do you really care. It basically, when it becomes a primary, not a caucus, the people who uh, want to work hard for their candidate to win uh, are disadvantaged in favor of television ads, basically. basically. And I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. Um, got some watchers. Nobody's posted anything. Uh, so the Iowa caucus, it just it is. Mm, okay, I'll finish my thought before I get to Poseidon's post. But basically, we don't live outside of the context where um, Bernie had the deck stacked against him versus Clinton in 2016. And so to think that the company that was handling the voting register the voting precinct results apps, um, the company that was involved in that had people from what was uh, Clinton's campaign in 2016. And we've actually been able to see that connection. It's it's like why was this not vetted better? You know, um, how is it that a candidate who is running for office was able to patronize this company $40,000 to be able to like use them to uh, have his campaign communicate with like similar apps, and it looks like a payoff. And Buttigieg wasn't the only one who had financial ties to that company, but he was the first one to come out and say it. But actually, Biden actually had a connection to it too, and in his numbers didn't seem to fare too well for any of his connection. But Buttigieg really, really, really has benefited from the app crashing and how the Iowa Democratic Party has been releasing slowly the returns in a way that made him look like he was more of the front runner than he was. And if people aren't constantly refreshing every couple of hours to see the latest little smidgen of returns that they were giving out, they didn't see that Bernie's numbers were crawling close and closer to him, to the point where it's very obvious that they released information in a way where the heavily Bernie districts were excluded from the initial releases, you know, and it made Pete Buttigieg look like a better candidate, more viable candidate than he was. Um, and I wonder how this strategy is going to bear out for him, because he really put a lot of his eggs in the basket of Iowa, right? And that hasn't worked out well for um, every candidate who has tried it in the past. So, Poseidon Kicklidon says Biden was the biggest impeachment casualty. The Dems impeached Trump for trying to destroy Biden's candidacy. How's that for irony? Well, I will agree. Biden's uh, crookedness was put on display by the impeachment process, because what was it that was so important of dirt that Trump was willing to uh, do an abuse of power in order to get his hands on it? He smelled blood in the water, and so he wanted that information and he wanted it investigated. He had an idea of what he was looking for. So I think, yeah, they were shooting themselves in the foot as far as the Democrats that would have wanted Joe Biden to be the nominee. Um, Paul, hi Paul. He says the good old backroom selection. Um, Definitely. Uh, and unfortunately, the entire time I've been involved in politics and going to be a delegate for different political parties, this whole time, that like every time I go, there's been like conspiracy theories about what's going on, and the transparency gets less and less. Um, and for every step that gets taken to improve transparency, in some certain way, it seems like the parties are one step ahead of it. They put little riders into the bylaws that we want passed to make transparency, so that they can just thwart it again on the next election cycle. It's like computers are not this fallible. You need people to fuck things up to make this bad. I mean, we should be able to just vote from home and maybe have some facial recognition, some thumbprint, whatever, and be able to just give any news reporting agency like an immediate poll. We should have that. You give it right to the Secretary of State for the state that is having their primary. And then we should be able to double check everyone's vote by everyone personally being able to check their personal vote connected to their voter ID number or social security number, like in you know, a data set where you just walk right up into the Secretary of State's website, plug in your password, and do your biometrics, and then it'll tell you this is what we have you on record as having voted. Is that accurate? You know, and if it's not, then we would all be able to tell if there was discrepancies. But from what it looks like, there were candidates who were basically getting the votes for um, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren in some of these satellite uh, caucuses, that like nobody was voting for these people, right? Like Tom Steyer and Deval Patrick, right? It's like they were getting way more from the app than from the actual reported people, reported votes from the precinct captains that counted the votes personally. You know, the app was taking votes from Bernie and giving them to just trash candidates like Deval Patrick and John Delaney and Tom Steyer. So like we can see this right now. There are people on Twitter, precinct captains, who say, "Hey, this was our actual count. This is what the Iowa Democratic Party is actually reporting." And you know, it's once again 4 years later, people are losing confidence in the political parties because of all this corruption. You know, for me, it started in the Republican Party with people feeling like Ron Paul was screwed. You know, uh, moved to Denver where I can actually be comfortable in joining the Democratic Party, and then it's Bernie Sanders is screwed. By the establishment of the party. Same way. And Poseidon says, how would you rate Tom Perez's competence running the DNC? Do you think he's filling positions with Clintonites like his critics accuse? Um, I'm going to go ahead and say uh, I don't know enough to answer the question. Honestly, like the whole process of running the DNC is so nebulous and not transparent that I can't actually tell you uh, how good of a job he's doing. I can tell you uh, I've appreciated the diction of Tom Perez's Twitter account, you know, as opposed to the Twitter account of our dear leader president, who pisses me off every day with the things that he tweets. I'm gonna say that yeah, my conspiracy theories still aren't really fully formed as to what all is going on in the Democratic Party, but I think it's important that people put out how they were feeling in the moment, for future internet archaeologists to see that, you know, in this moment, people feel like something's terribly wrong. And if you were to look at the results, after the entire primary process, um, you know, 20 years from now, you might miss how people really had this unsettling feeling like they could not trust the political party that they are trying to be a part of. You know, that these conspiracy theories were just every political season taking over and people feeling like the candidate that would have won and would have fixed things was screwed time and again. Poseidon Kikladon says, "Admit it. Sometimes Trump makes you laugh. Sometimes in a good way. He's very entertaining." Um, Maybe not so much Trump himself, but I will say that when he got elected, before he took office, I did say that he's God's gift to comedians, and I think that the comedic bar kind of floated on down after W left office and Obama took office, and then as soon as they had a political fight on their hands, you know, comedians started to really step up their game again. As far as their derision of the president, and that might have to do with them being of the same political party as Obama and not wanting to take as many shots at him. But I really feel like um, Trump's presidency has sharpened the wit of, let's say, Stephen Colbert, Seth Meyer, um, Trevor Noah, you know, those guys. Uh, and many more, you know. But there are some comedians that don't touch on politics as much. But I really do feel like there was a comedic like slump during the Obama administration because nobody wanted to pick on the politician that they uh, supported. Paul says 30 years from now, I'll be dead. I'm not exactly sure if Paul is watching me live or watching me on delay, but um, there's a chance that maybe we can download Paul. And Godless Manitoban wants to know, what did Butt do now? Um, it's really hard for me to explain uh, American politics to Canucks, really. Um, but I am wearing a red shirt, so that should help. Um, he patronized the company that created the app that reported the results, uh, and then crashed in the Iowa primary. And they just so happened to be spitting out results that favor him. He was monetarily connected to the app programmers, and it looks like he might have bought himself a little bit of victory. Even if the victory was just the very slow release of results that, you know, initially in that slow release made him look like the clear winner of the Iowa caucus. And now he's in a dead heat with Bernie Sanders. And even now, the last 1% of votes is not being reported because it might put Bernie over the edge in actually beating him in both ways. Oh, and Godless Manitoban says, anyone but Warren. Why not Warren? I understand that you might not like that she appropriated Native American heritage or uh, thought that she was Native American when she wasn't. But she really is kind of like Diet Bernie Sanders, you know. Um, as far as what you could possibly have to vote for, she's the best runner up, in my opinion. Paul said he's 71 on the 20th, so maybe gone in 20 easily. Is that an invitation to a birthday party? Where's the birthday party? Oh my goodness, Mr. Godless Manitoban, you had me going there. You're calling yourself an MRA. Um, you know, I do have one MRA stance. I like the intactivist stance. We should quit circumcising boys unnecessarily. Poseidon Kicklidon says Warren is a pathological liar. Um, yeah, how so? Go on. I will say with the whole Pocahontas thing, um, I understand it because I have known many a person to think that they were Cherokee when they looked really fucking white. You know, she's not the only person in the world that thought because of stories in their family that they might have Native American heritage. You, Misty was one of them, but yeah, you have a friend that went a little overboard with it. Yeah, she has a friend who is whiter than whiter white, and writes uh, novels from the perspective of a Native American. So yeah, yeah, that shit happens. Um, the Mountaineer says that I'm doing AOD ASMR. Is there something that my mic is picking up? Are my lips smacking?
Ah, stop it. Okay.
What? Don't worry, she's not going to kill me. She's just playing Galaga. Oh no, the relaxed vibe is what they're talking about. Um, it might be that I've seen like 30 episodes of The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross.
You've summoned.
Yeah, and I'm a little tired. So you put those two things together and yeah. I don't do a really good Bernie Sanders impression or even a Donald Trump impression, but I can do tired. Come be sleepy with me. Okay, so Poseidon Kicklidon says she claims she was fired because she was pregnant, which was a big lie. What part was the lie? Was it the lie that she was fired for being pregnant or that she was even pregnant?
Or that she was even fired.
Or that she was even fired? Yeah, which part was the lie? Was it just that it was the reason? I don't. uh, More context. Or that she was a virgin when this happened. Yeah, that's a possibility, Mitch. Um, she said she was pregnant, but she was a virgin. Okay.
Uh,
Paul says that we're not invited to the party because it's just going to be him and his son.
uh,
He doesn't have parties. Well, happy birthday anyway. Did I have a birthday? I had a birthday cake last year, didn't I?
yes, I made it
Yeah,
from scratch.
she made it from scratch. So um, that was like the first birthday cake I had in like 2 years before. Oh, Godless Manitoban said, "What are your thoughts on Bloomberg?" Okay, here goes. This is a leftover from the live stream that I did after the Super Bowl. There were three political ads that I saw during the Super Bowl. Two of them were Michael Bloomberg. One of them was Donald fucking Trump. Both of these people are mega fucking rich, right? And self financing their campaigns to an extent. Michael Bloomberg came off as the guy who has the money to throw away and buy an election because he bought two Super Bowl ads and just the at the most expensive ad rate that you possibly could have, right? Trump uses his ad to try to pander to Black America, and he showed uh, a black woman who was praising his name after being released from prison for like drug charges that got commuted, right? Nonviolent drug offender. He released her, and then she praises his name, and he used that as his commercial. It's like, I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message, and he's just like so pandering to a demographic that he is not going to be as nice to in his actual policy making. But when you look at the State of the Union address that happened right after that, the first 30 minutes he's talking about uh, my administration has made unemployment lower for black people, for Hispanic people. All the jobs that we're making, 70% of them are going to women. For the first 30 minutes before he started talking about illegal aliens and the border wall, he was pandering to different
Minorities.
minority groups. He was pandering to the progressive stack. So when I think of Trump's ad in the Super Bowl, I'm like, it was the precursor to all of the pandering he did in the State of the Union address, and he is setting himself up to be more left than most of the candidates that are running in the Democratic Party. Right? He's basically going left to to squeeze out any bit of the middle that they might be able to reach for, because he's going to be right there to the left of the middle, right? And what do I remember about Bloomberg's commercials? That I saw them, and that he's rich and he has the amount of money it takes to buy Super Bowl commercials. That's all I remember about his commercials. So that's what I think of Bloomberg. You know, and for all that money that he spent, the Iowa results say he gets 0%. Zero. You know, I hope that running for president gives you some sort of tax break for the commercials that you buy. I guess. You know, I hope that he's having fun on his running for president vacation, because he's not doing anything as far as actually winning. Okay. Poseidon Kikladon wants to know if I can talk about the YouTube Club saga, and is the coup still in power? Um, okay. I have not had enough time since I flipped my sleep schedule from the night shift job that I left over Christmas time, because I've been attending grad school and working full time. So I haven't had the time to actually check out any of their uh, meetings. But since I'm now a day walker again, I may be able to make one of their meetings. I've seen that they had a couple meetings posted. Meetup.com just used Facebook to log me in automatically. It's awesome. Okay, so they changed the logo of the Colorado YouTube Club, and it's around 430 members now. And
Isn't it more than that?
yeah, it was, but whatever. So they're going to have 14 attendees at Griffin Tavern on February 18th, Tuesday, February 18th at 6:30 p.m. And I don't know how many hours that's going to last. Clicking on it right now. Very casual get together of YouTubers with brief introductions about our work, and maybe have a beer or two. Bring yourself. Maybe you want to show off your favorite video. Oh God, I hate that. ah, when people bring like tablets and laptops and they want to show their video to people, I'm like, there's a reason why you get away from the screens to go meet people. Uh, but whatever, some people have a little bit of a social anxiety that they need to work through and whatnot. Uh, you wanted to know if the coup was still running it. The organizer has changed. So there you go. It's a new organizer altogether. I held on to it for a little while, and now somebody else gets the glory. And yeah, yes, Godless Manitoban. No one watched it on YouTube, so they want to put it in your face, like personally, to make sure that you watch it. Because if they just told you about it, there'd be no effing way that you would actually watch their videos. Yes, that's the kind of experience that you can have at a YouTuber club. I actually think that I have more attendees right now watching this live stream than they're going to have at their YouTuber social hour, which, you guys don't even have to put pants on. Godless Manitoban said burn. Um, Andrew T, why are you depressed? He just said he's depressed. Let's work with that. Why are you depressed? You don't know why you're depressed. What are your symptoms of depression? That's the weirdest part. Do you have any symptoms of depression? Worry 43 Troll said, is Misty okay back there? Sounded like she was trying to lift more weight than she can handle.
Refraining from throwing my phone.
Just for me reading that?
No.
Oh,
What
yeah.
am I doing?
So yeah, she's playing Galaga again. Andrew, um, when does this weird feeling of hopelessness present itself? Poseidon wants to know about my feelings about Nancy Pelosi, and I appreciate. So you asked me if Trump was like making me laugh, right? Maybe not, but what Nancy Pelosi did by ripping up the State of the Union copy that she had, to me, it was very childish. Our government shouldn't be run in this way, where childish theater uh, is inserted into our official government functions. But I did chuckle. I was like, "Oh my god, this is where we are now. This is how petty everything has gotten to." She's fucking ripping up his State of the Union because she knows that she's on camera. She then stacks it and then tosses it on her desk, like dramatically. And I'm like, "Oh my god, this is." It, I don't know. It was like cringing and chuckling at the same time. Really, like it's that bad. Andrew, are you seeing anyone for your feelings of hopelessness? I've had people like show up on my live streams before, especially around Christmas time years ago, and you know, want to talk to me about things, but I haven't opened up my Skype or anything to people who want to talk on my live streams in a while because people like to, you know, break into your hangouts and flash porn and whatnot. You guys, I'm not joking when I say that. I'm not like, I'm not over exaggerating. If you leave the link to joining your hangout in the description, you will have people that just are hell bent on uh, disrupting things by trying to throw screaming and porn into your stream. It happened when I tested it with napalm. Oh, Paul says that she should have burned the State of the Union, like just lit it on fire right on the desk.
That would have been awesome.
I think Misty agrees.
Had a wicker effigy of Trump.
Now she wants effigies being burned. Look what you've done. Okay, it's late. You're going to get some pliability out of us. I mean, it's if it was smokeless, maybe or she had some way to contain the smoke because
And laugh maniacally.
I mean, she could still do it now. She could take the speech pieces that she has, just like make a little bonfire in her backyard and just make a YouTube video.
The female Democrats wearing the white for women's suffrage, like set a bonfire out in the gallery and strip naked and started chanting. Oh my god, that would be the most awesome thing ever. What the hell just happened
All right. Well, thank you for showing up, Poseidon. Um, Paul, happy birthday on the 20th. Uh, Maybe you could go to the Colorado YouTuber Club social hour on the 18th and then tell them that your birthday is in 2 days, and maybe they'll give you a free cake at the pub. Maybe they'll have like a ice cream scoop or something on a pie. I don't know. I've done it before around my birthday, but everybody, I think I'm going to come back tomorrow with some deeper conspiracy theories about what all's going on with Buttigieg-gate.